Alright guys, so it's 103, just about 103 here on the 901. It's time for High Talk with Ricardo Mitchell here at High Noon. This is the day that the Lord has made and we rejoice and are glad in it. This is the shift, the opportunity He has given us. And you know that this space is about trying to reconstruct the village that raised us. A space where we could have dialogue with different perspectives to enrich the way that we view Trinidad and Tobago and the world around us. It is essential that we recognize that we can disagree, but we could also do so respectfully. It is important for us to be able to share our experiences, our perspectives, so that each one could teach one. Speaking of teaching, I want to apologize because I was taught much better manners than what I exhibited in the past hour. While the music was doing the talking, I neglected to greet those who greeted me. So, Ingrid, how you doing? See you locked on in the short box there. Francis T, blessings. All right, Lenny, how you doing, sir? I see you. I hope you noticed you got your requested music. All right, Lystra, good day, and God bless you as always. All right, Roy, glad to have you on. Glad to see you all keeping the short box active. Now, there is something very interesting about this particular episode of High Talk. Now, you know the Barbara Green Parliament is all about getting the information from the ground up. But when I was penning the promo, one of the things I kept in mind is that it's going to be from tech talk to taxi talk as well. Because it's not just about the newspaper headlines and it's not just about your personal experiences, but it's about what's going on around us. But I included tech talk specifically because there was a gentleman of an increasingly reputable account. That's just to say that he's better behaved now than he was back in the day. But I included tech talk in that because I've done enough work with him to know that I wanted to have him in this space, sharing as much as possible and hopefully as frequently as possible the types of conversations that we would have off air, that we would have in person. Back in the day, it used to be over a bottle of a beverage or two. You know, nowadays we a little more settled and sophisticated, even one could say. So it lends itself to more coffee, and I know it's pumpkin spice season, so you probably have something already for the day. But Brendon James, BA, MBA Culture, MSc OSH, Process Safety, MBA Sustainable Management. It has a lot of letters. It does a lot of letters. So I want to make sure you're properly introduced to the gentleman, because there are some of you who would not have met him in the living room episodes, and he's been on at maybe 8 or 10 times. There are some of you who might know his face from energy circles and economics. Some of you in safety. Anybody who's been in the industry and had a reason to write a report at some point in time or another might have heard the name. And though he does come across real dread, he's also a very reasonable and fair person. But Brendon James works at the intersection of data science, risk management, energy systems, and leadership in complex environments. He has experience across the oil and gas value chain, including operations, regulatory contexts, process safety, and analyzing energy systems. Brendon's work focuses on applying data analytics, machine learning, and systems thinking to support decision-making in high-risk settings. He is committed to improving organizational safety, resilience, and learning in complex systems. Now, I know him as Brendon James.
Right. And first, let me say thank you for that illustrious introduction. We're very happy to be here as part of the Parliament. I hope I obey all the rules of the Parliament and make sure I meet the requirements for the engagement. But thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a conversation. And good afternoon to all your listeners, locally and internationally.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man, Brendon. So, we've had a lot of conversations over the years, so much so we had a podcast. I think it was successful for what it was supposed to do, because seeing the way that you have flourished in the public speaking space. I know that people across the world reach out to you based on your articles and some of the commentary that you've done. You've been overseas more than once or twice in the interests of the different organizations and the country. We've seen Aaron develop into quite a character of his own, you know. So I sitting on here hosting High Noon, so I could say that Inquisitive Minds did what it was supposed to do in terms of prepping us for larger platforms.
Amen.
Right, and being able to have you here as a guest, middle of the day, middle of the week, people sitting down eating the food, some having breakfast because we might have listeners in the States, you might be Pacific. So some is Eastern. We would have listeners in the UK, people in Canada. Pretty certain we have a listener or two in Australia and Japan, that type of thing. So we have people all over the world tuned in right now.
Excellent.
So it's really an honor and a privilege for us to go from bedroom podcasting during COVID.
Good days.
So being broadcast live across the world. And it is important that I had you here because we are in a time where we're seeing leadership decisions come into fruition. There are things in the country that are working, and there are things in the country that are not working.
Yes.
And you've recently written a book on leadership, so I don't know if you could give us a little introduction as to what it is and what it's about.
So I like you observing what is happening and, you know, trying to see how best you could add value and be the change you want to see in the world. You know, I was putting together a few ideas after a number of, as most things in life, the things that matter comes after something bad that happens. So, you know, observing the things that went wrong and realizing, okay, what are you going to do to pay it forward? And so I wrote Leading Through Fire, and that would have been my own experiences coming through the energy industry. And I wanted to create like a little handbook for anybody who has to manage risk. It doesn't matter where you sit, but you had to deal with complex systems when things not working well, and you need to figure out why, and you need to understand the sequence of things that may have gone wrong and how to fix it. You know, and I spent a lot of time, you know, describing what I would have gone through, because each one of those stories are real stories. There's real Trinidad and Tobago energy stories that we don't talk a lot about, right? Some of them were tragic, but it was also learning of what we could have done differently. And I try my best to give tools, systems, even technology that we could use to kind of improve business around us in our energy business and in life business.
The fascinating thing that I've seen, of course, you know, I had to do my little digging up, but the people on LinkedIn who've been responding to the book and responding to your work is not just energy and oil and gas. We're seeing people in finance, people in law.
Correct. That was a bit surprising because I would have written it with energy in mind, but when I started about halfway through, I realized that, okay, some of the examples that I'm pulling from is things that happen not even directly in energy, but it's related. So you see things like financial failures, bank issues in banking, the financial crisis in 2008, and the mechanism for what went wrong was the same. You know, so it doesn't matter where you sit. You could pick out something from there that they say, wow, okay, I've seen this before. I've seen where culture eats strategy. I've seen where the need for change and the actual change is two different things. So you see those same parallels and you're wondering, okay, what could I do about it? What can we learn from what has happened before and then come up with better approaches to solve problems? So hopefully that is what I hope resonates with people.
I've been privileged enough to read and reread this book several times, and I realized that you've identified the principle of failure.
Yes.
It's not system specific. This is the principle of failure, like why things don't work.
Correct.
And what scared me, that's actually not a bad title for something going forward. But what scared me the most is that Trinidad and Tobago is an intellectually sound country. We have brilliant thinkers. Brilliant thinkers. What scared me was just how many of our systems are paper tigers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'll use a quote from a good colleague of mine, who I wouldn't want to call his name on radio, but he used to say that the only thing worse than progress, not the only thing worse, that corruption is worse than progress.
No, go on.
All right?
Hey.
Or progress is worse than corruption, sorry.
Huh.
Right? So even if you're trying to move forward with things, but we stuck in wanting change and not necessarily knowing what the sacrifice is required for change. And the thing is that we have the ability, we have the skill set to improve things around us in terms of our systems, right? I remember an old manager of mine used to tell me that we haven't invented anything better than bureaucracy. But we need bureaucracy, but we also hide behind it.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of paper-based, convoluted processes that not serving the goal that they're trying to achieve. And whether that is in oil and gas, engineering, services, finance, insurance, doesn't matter, right? If I can't read a contract that I'm about to sign, does the contract serve its purpose, right? So I mean, and that's where we're boiling things down to the source, the corn soup as we like to drink, right? So that's the source there of what I was trying to write about and what we're talking about. That's it there.
You know, you can't say corn soup and not bring up the legends of what else people find in the pot when it fall down. Yeah, and you know, the intersection that WAC is, it is really amazing. The music says so much. And one of the things that I do is I'm very deliberate about the music that I play. Now, yes, while is What You Like Wednesday, and I will take the requests. But before I come into a shift, I have an idea of where I would like things to go. And I look for the music that would illustrate just how long we're dealing with some of the things we're dealing with. So much so that I could tell you, in 1939, we had songs about labor riots and issues. In 1939, big up Attila the Hun, by the way, we had music about industry failures. We had issues about treasury scandals. We had issues, Sparrow, no doctor, no, right? And get the hell out. We're talking about from as early as we've been independent nation, or even sometimes before, there was almost a culture that we had to navigate, and it's still expressing itself in some of the ways that our systems are failing.
Correct. And it's unfortunate that we we could say maybe not learn any lessons, but I like to say that we forget the lessons, and we don't have that connection to the history. So one of the stories I always like to tell people, I mean, it's unfortunate what happened at that company where those 4 gentlemen would have died in that diving-related accident. But many years before, at the almost exact location, we had 14 people that died in a major explosion in that same particular environment. And even though the mechanisms of what failed would have been different, what the similarities would have been the processes and the systems behind it. How do we plan to get things done? What's the vision of what I'm trying to achieve? How do I make the environment safe in such a way where people can execute? And all the things that are normally associated with how we get things up and running, those are the things that eventually would have failed. So I always tell myself leadership is really about a person or people who are open to listening to others on what are the things that could go wrong here, and rewarding people for identifying it and for people to bring it forward and you solve those problems, right? When you turn around and you have no problem to solve, then you probably finish your job there, but it is very unlikely, right? So if you always solving problems, then you always leader.
Yeah.
You
know, what you said there, it should. I just got this vision of what is wrong with our whistleblower policy. And the challenge is you want people who could diagnose your system and say this is not working, this is an issue. But we don't treat them like specialists. You know, you'd go to a doctor, you'd go to a mechanic, you'd go to somebody who could help diagnose what is wrong with your system, and you reward them for it. You compensate them for it. However, we tend to treat people who recognize failures in our systems more like canaries in the coal mine, where we wait until the stuff's singing to realize that something is horribly wrong.
Here's how scary this is. Huh? I remember, I know much people may not have studied like the Challenger disaster. This is at NASA. This is creme, the top engineers in the world.
Yeah.
And they recognized that something was wrong with the booster rocket before Challenger. And they realized that in very cold weather, that the booster rockets would have failed and there would have been fewer leaks. Based on how the booster rocket joints would have been designed, and that had the potential to cause a major explosion. The head engineer, who was there at the point in time, was begging them to not launch Challenger. The day of the launch, he was still begging and saying, do not launch this rocket, it's going to fail. And they launched the Challenger rocket on the coldest day of the year at that point in time.
Hey.
So, and this is not high-level engineering. This was simply the rubber that was there, or the connection piece that was there, that was failing in cold weather, and they had all the evidence to show.
Like the seal, like a seal.
Correct. So why are the brightest and the best not recognizing what's right in front of them?
Yeah.
And most things, when things go wrong, is very obvious things that are right in front of you, but we fail to acknowledge it. And Diane Vaughan, one of the leaders, a psychologist, she spoke about it. She called it groupthink. And that's the thing, that sometimes we surround ourselves with people who will just agree with us, and nobody is there to challenge and say maybe what are some of the other ways in which you could do things differently.
That we need to get that again for the people who was washing wares or face down in a plate of food and didn't catch that. You say groupthink. Groupthink
is a psychological phenomenon where you find people who have the same background and same ilk, same ways of seeing the world will tend to all agree. Yeah. And if you do not institutionalize, in some cases, dissent or create some level of conflict where you're able to see something in a different way, what you end up doing is making extremely bad decisions. So what you want to do is create systems around you where you're able to kind of look at a problem from multiple angles. And then once you're able to do that, then you could now, not make very terrible mistakes where things will go wrong. And you see it all the time. And just to give you an example of it, we even look at what happened at Enron. When that particular organization failed, the person who was the whistleblower at the point in time would have lost a job as one of the lead accounting executives, right? But she more or less, through her intervention, may have saved a number of persons in terms of their finances.
You're talking about sometimes the thing that stands between a national or even historical disaster is the voice of the individual.
Correct.
And it being opposed by the system that they're trying to protect.
Correct. And then if that is the situation in terms of how we manage, then that is a poorly designed system, because a well-designed system institutionalizes where people are able to bring all different points of view around a particular matter or decision that you have to make so that you see the whole picture.
So, Brendon, now I know it's high talk, but I want to bring it down a notch to ask you a very simple question. If you had $1 for every time you hear somebody trying to do the right thing being called a troublemaker, how much money you feel you would have by now?
I would have an island somewhere in the Caribbean. I live in by myself somewhere in a little castle. I mean, it's amazing. If you're able to kind of put aside, and is management itself and management at one's own ego, right? If you're able to put aside, well, they're not criticizing you, they just have a question around what it is they're trying to do, and you listen deeply, you are able to get the benefits. And even like if I sit across the room where I sit in negotiations sometimes, and I sit with different stakeholders, and the different stakeholders, everybody wants something different, but if you deeply listen and you pick out exactly, they all want the same thing.
Yeah.
They just look at it from different angles. All right. So in life and in your business environment, you have to create an environment where you're able to accept the good news and the bad news, and then you use that to kind of make better decisions, and then you can improve how things go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna tread lightly on this one, but in fact, you better you don't say anything to this. You could nod, you could smile, you could agree, you could disagree, but I just putting it out there that we are seeing in our political landscape right now evidence of two things: an environment where people are refusing to disagree, and we also see on the other end of the spectrum where them disagreements might be made a little too publicly. So we actually see in opposite ends of a political spectrum expressing itself right now. You could open the papers and see in some spaces disagreement in the sense of, and I'm not alluding to this being the reason why we see in the number of resignations and departures that we see in, but we see in a high level exodus from state boards, right? In one sense. In another sense, we see in ideas that not fully thought out being already executed. And in another space, we see in dissent and disagreement with the way things go in being weaponized against the individuals who both trying to highlight the issue or manage the system that they met the way that they met it. Right. So it is in real time we could look and see why systems of leadership impact us. And I just want to throw it out there very, very simply that you can't even see certain street signs because of how high the grass is in certain spaces. I'm telling you that literally from the ground up, managerial decisions, leadership styles, and the systems around them have very important day-to-day impacts on the average citizen.
And this is part of the reason why I think we are missing a really great opportunity. And missing is maybe not the right word, but maybe much more or much deeper engagement is maybe a better term to use in terms of what technology allows us to be able to do now. So let's use the grass example, right? I'm just going to we're going to take that example and take it as far as it could go. Let's say I am running a corporation and I have to clear certain areas. I clear it and I get a call a month later or 2 months later from residents, and they say, listen, grass high, I need to cut it again. And I noticed that the time frame between cuts might be different from dry season to rainy season. So imagine you put in that information somewhere. Somebody putting that down in some Excel sheet and paying contractors, right?
Right.
Okay, somebody getting paid to do that. What else are you doing with that data? Except paying the contractor. But what if I could use that information and say, all right, here's what, I'm going to design a contract that you cut this lot at this particular time frame. This is the amount of cuts I estimated for the year. This is the amount I expect that the cuts will happen in the rainy season and dry season. And I can now predict exactly when I need to provide that service to the public rather than I get any complaints. Technology allows you to be able to do that. You could now create databases that allows to do that level of analysis. And I can tell you, for example, there's something that I actually did in the Trinidad and Tobago with flooding, where you're able to now use rainfall data, and I use publicly available information to predict areas most likely to flood and how severe the floods will be. So, and I did that with just publicly available data.
Right.
So in terms of what technology now allows us to be able to do, is to now move beyond the traditional bureaucracy of, well, I collect the information, somebody sign up a form and they sign on the document, and then they bring that in and somebody sit down like a bookkeeper and account for all the lots that was cut. And then we go and we pay according to lot cut, and then I had to send somebody out to inspect. Versus now where I send out a drone, it fly,
right.
I check all my lots, I come back, I use the drone footage and I use the lot area, and I calculate exactly how much money I need to pay the contractor, and then I'd have difference in time between when the lot was cut versus when it need to be cut again. So in terms of like how to make things better for us at work, socially, whatever, technology really offers that opportunity here. Are we willing to embrace it, or are we holding on to the bookkeeper or the bookkeeping, I should say.
Yeah.
Right? And the book and the piece of paper and a sign off and stuff like that. And it makes it even safer as well. Right?
One of the things that was legendary in the industrial workspace I was in was people retiring and going home with data.
Yeah.
Going home with maps. When you need to find out where a gas line running, you had to call a retiree and hope that you and he was on good terms so he might tell you where it is, or, you know, send you a picture of it because he don't even want to give you. It is absurd the way that we gatekeep data. We hinder our own progress.
And the Americans realized this after 9/11, you know.
Yeah.
After 9/11 in the US, one of the things that they did when they actually formalized Homeland Security wasn't just a department of the US government. What they actually did was they started to create knowledge management systems. So they took data from all the different security services and was using that data from the people who actually knew bits and pieces of things that occurred, and now able to put that data together to paint a picture of threat assessments and stuff like that. And they realized that even before 9/11 occurred, that they had data to show what could have happened, and they could have assessed the risk and realized the probability was high. So knowledge management systems is that it is they're taking away the information and knowledge from in the head of one or two people and making sure that the organization doesn't suffer when those people leave. And we see it, and I've been in the industry long enough to see it, where every 5 to 10 years, you actually find serious accidents and failures happening, because around that time, you see the older generation move out, and then they have new people that come in, and they don't know why we used to do things like this, and they decide to change things up, and then all of a sudden, about a year and a half after, things start failing. Right? So to avoid those things from happening, you have to now make sure that knowledge is available for everybody, and the best way to be able to do that is through technology. All right.
So, Brendon, we have here with us Leading Through Fire, Decisions in Complex Systems and the Weight of Responsibility. Now, one of the things I want to do, and, you know, bless God for the opportunity, I'm going to be working Independence Day. Right? I'm going to be here from 10 to 2 on Monday. And one of the things I'm going to do is do a giveaway of a copy of this book. I'm going to do a giveaway on Monday for Independence Day because I think it's an important signal to the nation that yes, we culture crazy, and yes, the music involved, but we are more to offer.
Yeah, man.
Right, so my gift to the nation, to somebody out here, is going to be a copy of Leading Through Fire.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that is an honor to be able to do that, man. And again, this space is not every other space. And I'm not going to treat it like any other space would. So I'm going to do some unconventional things. We're going to hopefully have some unconventional conversations, and hopefully we get some unconventional results from it.
Amen.
Right? Now, part of the high talk is taxi talk. And unfortunately, this Paria incident came up a couple times. In just recently, you know, it's resurfacing conversation. You know, last night I was looking for calypsos about the incident, because it's true, Kai, so our stories are told. I was looking to find out what our oral custodians of history had to say about it. You know, I found one online song about it by a Naparima Girls High School student in the school competition.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing from the expected.
Yeah.
And what that said to me, it might be out of context, and if anybody have music that referred to that tragedy specifically, well, you feel free to let me know, you know. After the interview, I'm going to open up the phone lines and all it could correct me. But online, all that I found was a school competition entry. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Right? We have a habit as a nation of burying our head in the sand for certain things. And it was amazing to me that across the board, there was no mention of that. There was a newspaper article and an investigation this week on the dark underbelly of Trinidad and Tobago and social media groups. And I don't even want to use the word before YouTube flag it, right? But we have some issues in Trinidad and Tobago that not being aired and addressed. And I think we have to overcome that element of shame so that we could get to the work. Because as I've learned through leading through fire, if we don't acknowledge, address, and articulate what these things are, they're going to come back to bite us very, very badly.
Yes, correct. And in ways that you can't predict. That is the thing that makes it so dangerous. And you think, well, somebody else got to deal with it. No, you'll have to deal with it. All right, you will have to deal with it.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to give us a line or two or a paragraph from the book, because I know you also made it available. The audio book released yet? Or
yes, it is going to be released in about 2 weeks. So already actually going through the publishing process.
Yeah.
So it just has to go through the quality checks by the different platforms.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it available to international platforms, So and that's take about 4 weeks. So yeah, so I am down to the last 2 to 3 weeks,
Okay, that's great. Because one of the things I'm learning as well, being in the communication space, is that we tend to consider the people who in the middle of the spectrum, right? We go for the average because that's where you're gonna get the most reach. But you also have to establish communication for the people who are not in that space as well.
Correct.
So there are people who would benefit from the knowledge, and they might not be able to get a copy of the book in Braille.
Correct.
But they can get an audio book.
They can get an audio book. I mean, and kudos to my brother-in-law, who was the one was during a family event. He was like, "Listen, you need to do audio book."
Yeah.
Because you don't know who. He said most people if you're a reader, you're a reader.
Readers are becoming the exception more than the norm.
That is it. But he said you had to cater for the person who might be driving to work in the morning, who in between Southampton and Port of Spain, who would love to don't have the time, but would love to listen,
Yeah.
And then I was like, why not me just speak in my own Trinidad and Tobago accent and talk the talk. Yeah. So that is what it kind of encouraged me to do the audiobook, and that was a challenge. I didn't know talking for about 4 hours straight. As much as I love the audiovisual part of communication, that when you do it like that, it's a whole different.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was a real nice experience.
As I had to rate, my mental health professionals. I mean, they do a lot of listening more than they do talking, but still being in communication for these extended periods, it can be a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, as I say, I had the advantage of reading the book several times, and there are lines that I'll never forget because of the images that it conjured. And worse yet too, coming out of the industry, I was familiar with some of the incidents themselves. I remember there was one particular incident you referenced in the book. And I was at home, we were in the yard liming or something like that, and the phone rang, and it's like, "Are you on work?" It's like, "Nah, what happened?" Tank, so on, fire. The first thing that came to mind was tank, but I'm not at work. Right? Because from the time you hear it, it was just a case of, well, it was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
And then going back down the road and seeing and smelling, and then his investigations and reports and bacchanal. And then when you realize how these things happen, Brendon, I'm a ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would have investigated that one. And I was just like in shock how we can let this happen.
Yeah. One decision at a time.
And it's nothing too difficult to be able to map and see what the consequences would have been. right? For any one of the decisions, but chained together, what could have happened?
Just know while you're perusing the part you want to read there, I see we have some contribution here. It looked like Aaron is listening.
Hey.
And he's asking, but how will I keep my job or be brought back as a consultant if I don't hoard the information?
Listen.
Dr. Cheese Foodie, how you all doing? Yeah, man. Foodie say also the use of drones to see cut bush left on the roadside to fall back in and clog drains and withhold payment for improper work. Right? Because again, there's a quality assurance.
Exactly.
There's a quality control.
Exactly.
Foodie is one of the, I might really open the lines and let one or two of the callers come because Foodie is one of them guys.
Yeah,
there's a reason the Baba Green Parliament and name it that shit.
Yeah.
Brendon is some of the greatest.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, look, Lenny's saying here that after you retire and leave, we don't need you no more, Aaron. Younger blood with new ideas will take over. And nowadays we put everything in the cloud. And that's the point. You want to be able to manage change by preserving information.
Correct. And data is much more valuable than oil right now.
Yeah. You could go too much.
Yeah.
I mean, neither of us want to get a phone call after the conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Aaron says he's ready to retire, but the economy is not allowing him to. Aaron turned 40 days ago. All right, to retire.
Youth.
Yeah. No. According to him, right, the youth ends at 35, So Aaron is post youth.
I like that.
Yeah. Right. So go ahead, you feel free.
So I'll share just a little bit from one of the chapters where I actually started off with a quote. And I started off by saying, ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Marcus Aurelius Meditations. My time working at the regulatory agency had already begun to reshape how I saw the industry. Those years gave me perspective. What they could not give me was proximity, and I had come to believe that proximity was where change actually happened. During this time, my parents developed a quiet habit. Whenever a fire or major explosion appeared on the evening news, they would tell relatives almost predictably, Brendon will be there. It became a strange feature of family gatherings. If something burned, I was likely walking through the aftermath within days. They said it lightly, but I felt the weight of it. What unsettled me most during those years was not the destruction itself, it was the pattern. Incident after incident, I kept asking myself the same question. Why are people making these decisions? I refuse to accept that the comforting narrative that leaders were careless or indifferent to human life. The executives and managers I engaged with, for the most part, were competent, thoughtful, technically capable. They understood the risks, they understood the consequences, yet failures continued. The injuries continued. The investigations kept repeating these familiar themes. It became clear to me that the problem extended beyond engineering design or procedural compliance. Something deeper was influencing behavior long before the event occurred. It was around this period that I made the decision that surprised even me. I would return to school to study management and more specifically organizational culture. I needed to understand what shaped decisions inside organizations. When no one believed they were making unsafe choices, I wanted to understand how intelligent people operating within structured systems could collectively drift towards catastrophe without recognizing it. Yeah.
Chapter 1 starts with, before I knew, there are things you cannot unsee. The sea was calm that morning, the sky incredibly clear in the way only the Caribbean can be. Offshore work often begins like that. Routine, procedural, almost serene. I was standing at the back of a vessel waiting to be transported to another platform when the call came over the radio. There had been an explosion on a nearby block station. The captain turned the vessel hard in the water and we accelerated as if chasing the gas, slowly venting toward the horizon. Climbing the stairs onto the production deck felt unreal. The environment had shifted, but my mind had not yet caught up. Red and black was everywhere. Blood and oil mixed and splattered across steel that only minutes earlier had been part of an ordinary workday. Brendon, that is on the first page.
Yeah.
That red and black hit me so hard. It hit me so hard, especially, worse yet, you see this week, our national colors are red, white and black, brother. The blood and the oil not supposed to mix.
Correct.
The whites, the lines supposed to keep the blood from the oil.
Correct.
Right. So
Yeah, and that is the imagery of seeing the sacrifice of what it takes to keep that built the economy that we enjoy right now. That part of it that we do always acknowledge, of the dangers that people put themselves through to actually keep this engine running, right? Over the years.
So, Brendon, I wanna thank you for taking the time to join us here for High Talk, and for giving me an opportunity to gift the nation a perspective, and to literally do a giveaway Independence Day. I think that's a nice statement. Happy birthday, country. Let me share some perspective and some knowledge education.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm not going to be doing an actual talk show that day, but I will do the giveaway.
All right, good,
Right.
good.
And what I want to find out from you is, how can people find this book locally, online?
Yes, so anybody who's interested, well, fortunately, it's available on Amazon. So you can get like a digital copy, or if you want to order like a physical copy, Amazon will ship it directly to you. And you could always reach out to me too as well. I do have copies. From time to time, I do have a couple of copies that I will normally give to persons. What is also going to be available in just about 2 to 3 weeks are audio copies. So on your typical platforms, which is Audible, Spotify, and the many others that you can go in depth into, is actually going to be available so that you could listen to it on the way to work and, hear some of these stories of what has happened in Caribbean Energy and our own experience of what we learned from what went wrong.
Yeah, man. And how could they contact you individually if they want to get one of the books?
You could reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Brendon James Writes. My website is brendonjameswrites.com. And you can reach out to me. I'm pretty accessible. And if you want to get a copy of the book, or you want to have a conversation, that's fine too. I've had many people reach out to me and they just wanted to talk about ideas, or doesn't matter. I'm pretty accessible.
Got you,
those are the platforms I'm typically on.
While speaking to you here, I got an idea. I got to talk to the chief when I see him later tomorrow. Because I guess again, I just want to go to write it down before I forget. But Brendon, God bless you. Thank you so very much. Thank you to everyone who has contributed and supported to the family for sacrificing the time. Because if it's one thing I want all you to understand, in pursuit of national interest, somebody does have to pay for it. The time you're dedicating to your cause, somebody has had to give it up.
Correct.
I appreciate you. It's Leading Through Fire, Decisions in Complex Systems and the Weight of Responsibility by Brendon James. He is going to be back definitely in High Talk. I guarantee you that. And as we get more leeway to talk about more things, as we start to find the lines between
correct
getting it done and getting in trouble, once we find those lines, trust me, we're gonna hopefully be able to talk about some things.
I appreciate that. And I'm actually working on a second book now, so I'm hoping around that time it's actually going to be on communication. So I'm hoping that when published, I could come back and we can have that conversation. That would be a very, very interesting one.
Communication. But I appreciate it, Brendon. The comments in the shout box, Aaron, we'll deal with you accordingly.
That's Aaron one.
Aaron have more to say now than when we tell him we want to record our episode. Anyway, alright, so we're gonna keep the positive vibes going. We're gonna keep the messages flowing, right? And yeah, after this, we're gonna activate the What You Like Wednesday. I already have 1 or 2 tunes requested, and we'll open up the phone lines then, all right? So keep it locked to the True Nation station, WACK 90.1 FM. I really like this bed though. This beat is the hardest.
Oh, this is yeah. Somebody do say, oh, the chief himself, like,
Yeah.